I actually...
Spoilers.
While I was doing that, I had a red baseball cap made. You know, a MAGA hat? And it said, make America Great Britain again. Which went down really well with one half of the crew and really badly with the other. When I was a kid and I went to see my first pantomime. I don't think you have pantomimes over here, but they're sort of musical, comical storytelling of things like Aladdin and Peter Pan and those sort of things, and they're traditionally at Christmas. And I went to see my first pantomime, and I thought, well, those people look like they're having fun. And I don't know, there was something about the dancing girls as well that I quite enjoyed. In those days, you used to have binoculars, but you had to put sixpence in to get a binocular out of the seat in front of you. They were glued to my face the whole time. I think they've banned it now. But that was my moment. And then I did get chosen to be in a school play, and I did it, and I thought, I really, really like this, you know. So that was definitely my moment. And I also won another medal called the Ronson Award for the Bancroft. I'm showing off now. The Bancroft is for the best actor, and the Ronson Award is for the most promising actor. So I was best and most promising. The funny thing was, can you imagine this happening today? The award was a cigarette lighter. And what is even worse, there was another award called the Arthur Wantner Award that was an ashtray. And I can remember my voice teacher saying to me, now what you must make sure to keep a good voice is we always do roll-ups back in the day. Right. He said, always make sure your tobacco is nice and moist, or it's terrible for the voice. So we would all take potato peelings and put them in our pouches to keep the tobacco nice and moist. I remember at one point him recommending the best sort of tobacco for your voice. He had a specific one he liked us to smoke, and he thought the other ones were no good. It was called Golden Virginia Flake, it was called. And he recommended that for the best voice work.
I mean, you always have your favorites.
You do, yes. I don't know what they recommend for the kids now. Cocaine, I think it is. I'm not sure. For their confidence.
For sure.
What was amazing about that is I was the only actor in it who wasn't played by a child and then a grown-up because of the age difference. So I played him as a child, and then they had to make me up to be 30. And that's the way they made a 19-year-old look 30. Bags. I mean, they've actually made me up to look about 76, I think. And forgotten to grey my hair, which is quite funny. But that was an extraordinary experience because I just got out of drama school. I'm offered this job, and there are all these wonderful, wonderful actors who I knew and I'd seen in the theatre. And I remember on the first day, a floor manager coming up to me and saying, blackboards they had in those days, they said, we'll write your call time up for rehearsals every morning. And I said, there's no need to do that. I mean, this is like a seminar in acting. I'll be here at 10 o'clock every morning and just watch these amazing people work. And I learned a lot from all of them, and subsequently worked with most of them again, which has been, and we always reminisce about the days on LI Claudius. Derek Jacobi, thank you. The next time I saw Derek, I said, I've got a question for you. Because I did feel I was vastly miscast in this role, in this leading role when I was 19. But I said, you had a line about me. Did you change it? Did you say the line as it was written? And he said, what was the line? He said, you came to see me when I was being poisoned. And you met...
spoilers.
Yeah, I know, spoilers. Yeah, 50 years later. And you went up to Patrick Stewart, and he said, as Sejanus, and he said, what do you think you're doing? And he said, I've come to see Castor. I've heard he's very bad. I said, were you being cheeky and commenting on my acting? He said, no, I swear, that's exactly what it said on the page. I think he's lying. I personally was very pleased to be asked back, particularly into something that people seem to enjoy as an episode, because there's a guy called Tony Haddock in England who has decided to interview everybody who's ever in Doctor Who, and he phoned me up and invited me to go to a coffee shop to talk about it. And he seemed very nervous. This was before I did this one. This is about the Twin Dilemma. He seemed very nervous, and I said, Tony, before you start, I want to put you at your ease. I am fully aware that the Twin Dilemma is regarded as the crappiest Doctor Who episode that's ever been made. He said, oh, thank heavens for that. He said, we can get that over with. Because it is sort of reviled, I think, as the worst episode ever. I'll tell you exactly the first time I saw Doctor Who. I was about 4, 5, 6, 7, and I used to watch a show at 6:20 on a Saturday night called The Telegoons. It was a puppet show. And, of course, I was a kid, so I didn't pay attention to, I just thought it was on every Saturday. And so the next Saturday, we rushed home from shopping, and I sat in front of the telly, put it on. And the next thing my mum always tells me, I came running into the kitchen crying, going, Mum, they've stopped the Telegoons and they've put some stupid doctor on instead. But of course she said, oh, well, go back and watch it, you might like it. And I went in, and I think at the end of the second episode, you saw the plunger of a Dalek coming in. And from that moment on, and then you didn't see the Dalek, you just saw the plunger. And from that moment on, I was hooked, of course, and all through William Hartnell. And I think right up to to Tom Baker I would watch. Obviously, I was a professional actor by then, so I didn't tend to watch so much television, but absolutely hooked. Hugo Lang. Well, I did. I mean, I had the opportunity to be in a show that I'd loved since childhood, and I really wanted to do a good job of it. Funny enough, I was paranoid about my performance in that as well, because at one point I pass out after behaving badly, and Colin Baker said, I wonder what happened to make him act like that. And I thought, he's having a go at me as well. This is Derek Jacobi. No, it's Colin Baker. But it was great fun to do, and to be up in the famous BBC quarry that was every planet on Earth back in the day. To be coming out of the TARDIS was just great. I was very disappointed when our rather flamboyant producer decided that he didn't like my uniform, and I had to go and find a sort of a bizarre, sparkly dressing gown for the rest of the show. I wanted to look the part, And that poor man who had to play Nestor the Slug. Yeah, he was uncomfortable. Edwin Richfield, his name was.
She'd like to know about an alleged incident during the Twin Dilemma where you actually bit Nicola Bryant. Can you elaborate a little bit on that? I think we need context for that.
I am told this story a number of times, and I can't remember it at all. And I'd have thought I would have remembered biting a woman, but I don't remember it. I think Nicola is exaggerating, perhaps a tiny little peck on the cheek.
She says you bit her on the butt.
Oh, yeah, I did. I remember now, yeah. That's right. You wouldn't get away with that now, would you? No, you wouldn't.
Allegedly, Colin also bit her on the butt.
Oh, well, then he was just copying me. That was it.
Yeah.
But now when I go back to my table, it's going to say, so much for an autograph, so much for a selfie, so much for a bite on the butt. Anybody who wants their butt bitten, you can come to me. I think I remember what it was, actually. It was because I was lying down as I passed out. And he was talking to her, and it was very crowded on the sets in those days, and her butt sort of appeared. And I couldn't stop myself. There we go.
Do you know that Professor Jericho was going to be in more than one episode?
No, I didn't. And what was funny, I hope everybody's seen it, because I keep doing spoilers. I did this I said, when I get die at the end, and one guy went, I haven't watched it yet. I said, well, it's the best person to get a spoiler from, isn't it?
Exactly.
No, what happened was they offered me this part, and I was about to come here to the States, and I thought they were going to show a picture of Nicola's butt then.
Do not search for that on the internet.
No, do not.
You will be in deep trouble.
Yeah. So they said, I said, yeah, okay, yeah, I've got time to do that. And then I got to the end, and I said, I've just been thrown into another parallel universe. That doesn't sound like an end to me. They said, no, we want you to do another episode. I said, I've got to go to America. I've got a gig to do. And they said, well, I'll just do one more. So I did one more. And then at the end of this one, I said, hold on, there's nothing, there's no resolution to this. They said, we want you to do one more. And I said, I'll only do it if you kill me. And they said, all right, it's a deal. So a lot of people do say to me, were you unhappy when they killed your character? I said, no, I demanded it. I absolutely demanded it. It was a condition. The biggest challenge was that it films in a place called Cardiff in Wales. And words you should never want to put together is Cardiff and lockdown. Because even when all the restaurants open, it's still pretty dull. Yeah. So it was very weird just being in a hotel room the whole time. They had a menu of 5 things, which over the 3 weeks that I was there, I had about 8 times each. There were no bars open. I mean, there was nowhere to go and socialize. We were only allowed to take our masks off when acting, and I always thought, well, this is silly. If we can do this, why? But anyway, those were the rules. So it was tough. It was tough to do, but I was very pleased in the result that you didn't feel that it was anyway strained, or it was not, just like any other production. But it was really, when you finished work, you thought, oh God, I can't wait for 8 o'clock to come round and I can go and mix with people again. When I turned up, and one thing it's Weeping Angels. I keep on calling it Whispering Angels, but that's the rosé wine I drink, which is a bit of a giveaway. No, what happened was I turn up on the set to this house on top of this cliff, and there's a load of polystyrene Weeping Angels. And I think, oh, they're good. I'd never seen them before. I think they're really good. And then I come back out, and one of them goes, yeah, at me, scared the shit out of me. I didn't know they had women made up amongst the polystyrene ones. I nearly had a heart attack. Don't do that to a man over 60, please. Somebody was asking me about this today. This is one of my bugbears. What was lovely about this was that all the sets were real. Obviously, that is CGI. They use people a lot of the time. One of the terrible things about the last 20 years is when I started Pirates of the Caribbean, if you wanted to split a ship in half, you got a ship and you split it in half and filmed it. As anyone who works in the Marvel universe will tell you, CGI has made filming, actually, it's taken a lot of the fun out of it. And I'm really hoping that more and more they use the big LCD screens that they use in The Mandalorian. What's that? The volume, is that what it's called? Great. I love to be in a room full of nerds like myself. It's marvelous. So I hope on more shows will do that, because CGI is absolutely, it sort of takes all the fun out of it. Funnily enough, the first job I did just before Claudius was an experimental thing. We have what we call the Chester Mystery Plays, which are medieval plays of all the stories of the Bible they used to do each Easter. And it was too expensive to do, so they invented this system called color selective overlay. So it'd be a green or a blue room, and they take that out of the electronic camera so that we could act against paintings in this case. And I can't believe I did CGI about 40 years before it came back into fashion. But I remember thinking, I hope they don't do this much. You're standing in a huge studio, all green. I mean, you start to feel a bit nauseous towards the end of the day. Blue is nicer. But unfortunately, they don't use blue because there's so much blue in people's costumes, but you can take green out of people's costumes more easily. I would love to have played Frank's some more, because I just thought he was such a fun, crazy character. I think he could have had a few adventures with the Winchesters, but 'twas not to be, sadly. I think what it was is they killed off their mate. What was he called? I was at a convention with him the other day. But Jim Beaver plays him. Bobby. They killed him off, and then they got me in. But then I think they wanted Bobby back, and they thought, well, we can't have two old blokes in the show, so we'll get rid of this one. Well, for me, anyway, I think you need to be very honest about what you do, because I know a lot of, I hope there's none around, I know a very lot of mediocre actors who think they're bloody marvelous, and I'm here to tell them they're not. So I think you've got to make sure that that you're working hard, that you're concentrating, that you're taking it very seriously, because as I go around conventions, particularly with pirates, a lot of young people come up to me and say I was a part of their childhood, and I think you have to take that responsibility very clearly, particularly when it happens that people come up and say I didn't have a particularly good childhood, and I was able to seek some refuge in entering this other world, shutting the door and entering this other world. So I think you have to take it seriously and be very objective about what you're doing. Oh, it was a deep question, wasn't it? Yeah. Where have all the nerds gone?
This is Mick Wingert, and you're watching Fandom Spotlight. Be sure to like and subscribe, and don't forget to have fun
and follow your fandom.